But you know, so here's the reality, though. How best do you learn and grow, and how best does your staff learn and grow? I could no longer say I'm a tennis player. That's my hobby. But I could still focus on these other things. Now, you probably have some even impulses about how you learn and grow. And the question is, for you, how do you develop that? Maybe you're not a big reader. Focus your reading, maybe. Maybe you're a drawer. Maybe you're a person who hears things. Maybe you're a person that has to see things. And what I loved about when I was leading the New Life Church staff was think about what it meant for us to do field trips. Because everybody loves field trips. And where do we want to go see, and what do we want to do, and what experiences will bond us. And we're kind of doing the same thing at Calvin Seminary right now. But to be a learner, you need to be a leader, you got to be a learner. And the reality is, in terms of that tennis example, we become what we're committed to. I was not committed to tennis. Hopefully I'm committed to other things. Number 10, this is actually kind of the axiom that led to this other thing that you were reading, the fulcrum life versus the balanced life, the playground teeter-totter where balance is boring, and we kind of obviously went through that. So, centered life. Know the season you're in and know the season your church is in. So this morning we talked a little bit more, obviously more about the you, but I want to recognize the church season as well. One of the things I had to be aware of is that a church can get, let's use the word depression, after Christmas and after Easter. You know why? Because there's so much attention on those seasons. And then there's this natural letdown. We talked through as a staff, for example, how you overcome the Easter Monday blahs, you know? And also to recognize the season that your church is in. One of my pastor friends, he was doing a capital campaign as they moved from a facility they sold. We're in a theater and they're looking to build a facility. And something happened that he called, and I'll just be very direct with you, the season of death. In that one church, they had 7 funerals in a 2-month period. And we just talked honestly that you know what that meant to their capital campaign and talking about growing and reaching out? They kind of just paused. It stopped. This was the season of comfort. This was the season of grief. This was the season of remembrance. This was the season of loss. And so maybe for you, think about not only your own season, but maybe the season of workers that you're around, volunteers you're around, and even the church that you're in. Number 11, use trial periods to move things forward without forcing final decisions. I really have always been blessed by this sense that people don't always get in this boat at the same time. And if you ever gone to like when there's little boat cruises or whatever, you know that there's people who want to run up first and they want to go get the seats at the top. There's others who want to go in the front. There's others who are willing to sit in the back. Well, the reality is it's a little bit like that. My friend Chris Voss says, do your homework. The reality of an adoption cycle. Once again, whatever context of life, I found this very helpful. So whether it was in ministry or in a career or even family conversations, you have these. And I don't know if you can see it entirely, but you have what people are called innovators at one end, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards, meaning they're going to wait till the last minute. People don't get on the same boat at the same time. In our family, for example, you do not tell my daughter that early in the day we're going to do this and in the afternoon we're going to do something else. She plans what she's going to wear based on what we told her. She's 17 years. So we have to tell her up front a lot of things just so that she will adapt if there is a changing circumstance. And I said a family situation, but it goes for a lot of other things. And I know especially in terms of the church work, the reality is that we do have in church. We have people who want to see what others think. And they're kind of the late majority who are going to see what others do and then they'll join in. And so recognizing that pattern helps us in introducing new ideas. And like Stephen Sample is, there's a book called The Contrarian's Guide to Leadership, or Contrarian Leadership. Stephen Sample was the former president of University of Southern California, and he always said, make decisions as late as possible. Because his desire was to move people, as many people together at once. And I think that's somewhat of a helpful axiom. Sometimes you just have to move ahead of people. But if you can have trial periods and let people see things, it helps people adapt. Number 12 is have worst kept secrets in your church. I was aware there's two, as you are, at least communication systems in the church. One is the formal communication, newsletters, emails, bulletins, and then there's the informal communication process. One of my friends on staff, what he'd do is he sometimes would leave an agenda of the meeting he was just in on the table for others to come in and see. I go, what are you doing that? He says, well, that's just my way of letting people know we were working. But he also kind of had this moment where he was using that informal way of letting people know not only he was working, but what they were working on. And I think this is really key, that so many times, especially in the church, there's even an idea, well, the elders and deacons know this, or the pastors know this, and we don't know anything. And how to keep that conversation going in the church is really key. So be aware of those informal and formal communications, and be aware that you want people to know things so it's no surprises. For example, when we went from one service to 2 services in the morning, we did experiments at Easter time, to kind of help people see it. We talked about what it meant for them to do 2 services. So for example, they could serve at one and worship at another. And when we went to 2 services, I didn't hear talk about, well, we're splitting the church family. Like, people were like, oh, this is what we should do. In fact, you've been talking about this for like 1.5 years now, haven't you? That was the worst kept secret. Number 13, you are a cultural architect. This is the language of Erwin McManus. And one of the things is to be visual with that kind of even image. For us at New Life Church, we were worshiping in a high school, and we had temporary warehouse space. And we had always people asking us initially, so when are you going to build a church? And you know what they meant. They meant, when are you going to build a building? Well, we were in a high school for 7 years and a month. Normal folks stay there for 4, but we were kind of slow. 7 years and a month. And very early on, we said to people, no, we're building the church now, one life at a time. We're not waiting for the building, we're building it now. And one of the visuals that we did is when we had our membership Sundays, that we actually gave them a brick and then asked them at the end of their kind of profession of faith, their commitment to the church, then place that brick along with others and, at a certain point in time. Because basically it was, in terms of 1 Peter, you are a living, you're a stone being built in a spiritual house, And so all that imagery of Scripture was based on bricks. So when you even walk into the building of New Life Church now, there's kind of bricks symbolized up there. And we talked about that we are the unfinished wall. Because more can join us in that way. So that was a little bit what we did. The goal is really to help people see what you're doing. And so is there images that you'd like to have related to your ministry, your volunteer roles? When they think children's ministry, what do they think of? Can you help with that? As a leader, as a pastor, know the financial stewardship pattern of your church and individuals with the gift. Once again, I usually do this presentation related to pastors and the like, and I know this is always a question, can pastors or leaders know? But I see that stewardship is a leadership filter. Very early on in the church, we were a coalescing leadership group, steering committee, and because this person came from a Catholic background into a Reformed church, we thought this is kind of our demographic. 50% of New Life Church was non-Reformed, non-Christian Reformed. Catholic, Lutheran in background, many times distance or none. And so we thought this person kind of maybe knows kind of that transition story. It'd be a great person to put on a leadership team.